Good morning and happy Molina Monday.
Yes, sir. I am Daniel, team captain, and today we are here to bring you our 3 core values.
Absolutely. Number 1, over communicate. Number 2, everything is done on time. Number 3, we pursue perfection relentlessly. What we're going to do, we're going to break down our 3 core values, and we're also going to explain to you our process once you do send us that client. All right, number 1, over communicate. What's important about that, Daniel?
Well, first and foremost, we set expectations not only with the client, but also with the realtor. We let them know what we need, when we need it, and how the process will go.
Absolutely. Also, 100% of leads are called within 5 minutes.
That's right. When you send a referral over to us, we make sure we call that lead within 5 minutes every single time.
Absolutely. All right, clients and realtors are notified in advance if the consultation is rescheduled. Because I can imagine, probably one of the most annoying things is when you send a referral, a trusted referral that you worked so hard for to a lender, and you don't even know if that client was called. You don't even know if they were followed up with. You don't even know if they were approved, if they don't qualify, why they don't qualify, what are their parameters, why do they only qualify for FHA and not conventional, or vice versa.
And if we can't make that appointment time that we set, we will let not only the client, but also the realtor know when it's going to be rescheduled for and why.
Every single time, yes sir. All right, realtors updated after consult, went over that. Milestones. Okay, that's a big one. All right, so to the frustration of not understanding what's the status with your client when you send it to a lender, how frustrating would it be is if you never knew when the appraisal was ordered, all right, do you have the loan commitment? Are you clear to close? So we make sure we hit on all the big milestones. All right, so it starts with submitted, that is submitted to processing, and also appraisal ordered. The next one is appraisal scheduled and submitted to underwriting. Next milestone after that is initial review, where the underwriter releases the loan commitment. Then you have resubmittal until you get that clear to close. Time to sign papers and get those keys.
Awesome. Number 2, everything is done on time. Every time.
Every single time. All right, what does that mean?
So starting from that 5-minute call time from when the referral initially comes over to us, we will make sure if there is ever an appointment that we set with the client, we always call them on time. If we are 1 minute late, we are late. So if it's a 1 o'clock call, we're going to call them at 1 o'clock on the dot, no matter what.
100%. Also, point number 2, everything being done on time correlates with the milestones, all right? Because when it comes to the appraisal, based on the new contract, you have to have the appraisal completed and all the appraisal negotiations conducted within the financing contingency period. So we order all our appraisals on rush. That way we can 100% have it back on time, meet that loan commitment date, have them clear to close, and they can 100% close on time. Number 3, we pursue perfection relentlessly. All right, what does that mean?
So number 1, 100% of our approvals are issued accurately. If we send a pre-approval to your client, that is an almost guarantee from us that we are going to be able to support them in their financing needs.
It is good as gold, all right? Because guess what? In Florida, if you don't hit that closing date, the seller can and most likely will keep that deposit. So we do everything in our power. We pre-underwrite it. We have an incredible resource of approval specialists and pre-underwriters to thoroughly review, make sure that when you get that letter, you and the client can sleep at night knowing there's nothing that's going to prevent them from closing on time.
Absolutely. How often do we hear from realtors where we get a lead sent over to us and they say, hey, they were pre-approved by X mortgage company and they no longer qualify, or we need to explore some different routes for them because their mortgage company did not do their due diligence during the application process before issuing that pre-approval letter.
Happens daily, sometimes more than once a day.
It does.
To be
It's
quite
crazy.
honest. Yeah. Now, with that being said, last point is 100% of prepaids and escrow collections are disclosed upfront. How discouraging would it be from a client if they receive an initial loan estimate and their closing costs are a lot lower than the disclosures they get a few weeks later, right before closing? Well, it might be shocking for you to hear, but that literally happens to me multiple times a week where I will save a deal from another mortgage company that bait and switched the client, telling them closing costs were way lower than they ever could be. And then I reiterate to the client, I say, hey, look, 80% of your closing costs are gonna be the same regardless of the lender that you work with, all right? Because you have the same taxes, all right? You have to get insurance, you have your prepaid items, you have all the title company fees. In Palm Beach County, title is chosen by seller. So I really try to break down accurately and conservatively, and my biggest goal is that the final numbers at closing end up being less than what the client is actually expecting, because we want to be conservative with our estimates. Okay?
Exactly. No nasty surprises come closing, right?
No surprises. That's no surprises. Now, that leads us to what is our process? When you send us a client, what is that process? Go ahead.
So, number one, you will send the lead over to myself or Chris, and Chris will give that client an initial call where they'll go over their goals, what they're looking to do, and we will let them know how we're going to help them to do that.
Yeah, I always do an introduction call with the client where I get to know their goals, I get to know what is the down payment they have budgeted, what's their monthly payment goal, and then I always ask, if there were two things that we could do to make this a great process and a great experience for you and your family, what would those two things be? And we make sure that throughout our entire process, we're really committed to those two things. Whether it's, hey, look, get me the best rate and just do everything as fast as possible. We know, hey, look, with this client, all we're gonna do is rush everything, submit everything, make sure everything's accurately approved, but get this client to the closing table in 2 weeks. Let's make that happen. Another client may, for example, just be, hey, look, just please over communicate with me, and I'm a first-time home buyer, so just hold my hand through the process.
Exactly.
And we really will.
Yeah, and our core values all boil down to those conversations and those questions that Chris has asked. We set our expectations and our core values based upon the goals and wants of our clients and your clients as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So after Chris has that conversation, that is where I come in. Within 5 minutes of Chris putting that phone down, they will get a call from me. And 9 times out of 10, when they answer the phone, they say, wow, that was fast.
Yep.
And I say, yeah, it was fast, it's important. We're trying to get them a house, we're trying to get them a home. So I will then run through a very detailed but brief 10-minute questionnaire with them, go through information regarding their employment history, their residential history, and I will also pull their credit. After that conversation, they'll get an email from Chris. Chris will break down exactly what documentation we need from them in order to get them pre-approved. So that comes down to us issuing these accurate pre-approvals. That documentation process is something that a lot of lenders might skip over. They might not go all the way into detail. They might not read the last page of those bank statements. But they're the kind of things that come closing are going to really impact the buyer. So we make sure that we do our due diligence up front, and that collection of documentation is vital. After we get all the documents, Chris, what's next?
Yeah, 100%. Once we get those documents, within about 24 to 48 hours, depending on complexity, if it's someone with 10 different companies that they own and 15 different K1s, that's not going to be 24 hours because they're not going to get us the documents in 24 hours. Okay, but with the easy, W-2, they have all the assets. We can do same-day pre-approvals, fully underwritten for that. But for the very, very complex ones that maybe they got declined by a different lender or 3 other lenders, and it's a save-a-deal, 48 hours tops on that one. Okay, and then after that, I do my consultation with the client. Everything is prepped and set up for success. And what I do is I go over with the client, what is their maximum approval? But then also, what approval should they stick with to meet their monthly payment goal, to meet their savings goals, meet their investment goals? I also go over, hey, what are your long-term real estate goals? Are there any other opportunities that I can send back to you as the realtor that you may not even be aware of, all right? Also, I program them for referrals. I say, hey, look, how was your experience with me and our team so far? They always say, your team is absolutely wonderful. And I say, well, look, I really appreciate that. And if you mean that, all I'm asking for is 1 referral this year. And if you send me that client in the first place, then when that client then sends me a referral, that is always gonna go back to you. Right after that, I call the realtor and I go over, hey, look, what are the parameters that we need to stick with for this client? What are the programs that we have them structured for? All right, then we issue that pre-approval letter to you, to the client. We have a timeline with it, and we have the monthly payment and a decent itemization of closing costs attached as well. So you're fully aware of the client's situation.
That's right. And once that pre-approval is issued, that's when it is your job. That's when we rely on you to work your magic, get them the executed contract, and get them to the closing table.
Absolutely. So if you need anything at all we would really appreciate from you is your next easy deal. Just kidding. Your next 3 easy deals, all right? Because look, the truth is you might send me somebody that has a 490 credit score, and guess what? We're gonna treat them the same way that we would with that 805 credit score, 800,000 a year W-2 buyer buying $1 million property. We're gonna treat them the same whether it's a 490 credit score individual buying a $50,000 condo in a 55 plus community. We do not give up on anybody. Both Daniel and I, played soccer back in the day, and That is why we are so competitive about simply being the best. You know, if there's one thing that we can really summarize this into is our goal. You know, if these 3 core values come into one thing, our biggest goal is to simply be the best. All right, so if you want that service, give me a call, 561-801-0260. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to have an amazing Molina Monday. Molina out.